What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Roto-Grinders Morning Grind. I am your host, TJ Zwarych, ready to break down the 8-game NBA DFS slate for Wednesday, November 15th, joined by my good buddy, Tasteful Tides, Tim Buell. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm gonna be fading the Joker. I think I took a stand with Embiid over Jokic, so we'll see. Embiid got 66, so he at least he's gonna be competitive at least. He didn't bust, but hopefully Jokic doesn't go for like 80 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about the slate so far. My cash team is winning big with nobody remaining, but then I did a 20 entry max on DraftKings as well, and got a few teams up around 300 points with one player remaining in the last game, whether it be Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, or a couple solid teams with Chris Paul, and then a couple solid teams with Joker left. So excited, Joker. I don't know why I said Joker, but excited to see how this slate goes. But we got 8 games on Wednesday to break down as well. First off, we got the Dallas Mavericks at the Washington Wizards. 242 total in this one. The Mavericks are a 5.5 favorite for the Dallas Mavericks in this one. They're coming in with pretty much healthy outside of Maxi Kleber. And then Washington is expected to be healthy outside of DeLon Wright today. This is the highest total on the slate, 5-point spread. Who are you interested in on the Dallas side of things?
Well, this is going to be the second night of a back-to-back for them. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a couple of these Mavs sit. Obviously, I can't guarantee that, but this is this is the best game of the night. And I know it's the first game. I know that's not great for the show's purpose, but this is going to be the best game of the night, best pace of the entire slate. 2 really bad defenses also. So it's going to be, how do we get to Luka, right? Like hopefully enough value opens up. Maybe Kyrie sits. Then Luka's going to absolutely smash in this spot. I think, on the other side of this game, maybe like a Denny Atvia. We finally saw Tyus Jones kind of wake up a little bit last game, so maybe he would be interesting. I don't know. It's tough to know exactly like what's on. Coulibaly. That's your boy, isn't it, TJ?
That is. Coulibaly's my guy.
Yeah. He might be an interesting tournament play on the Washington side. I think this could be a good game for Jordan Poole too. Kyle Kuzma 8,100. It seems a little bit pricey, but again, this is gonna be like a up and down game. So Kuzma, I don't think he'll draw a lot of ownership at 8,100. I think he'd make for an interesting tournament play. But this is going to be an incredible game for fantasy points.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. On Dallas, obviously, Luka, he's going to be the best raw points guy on the slate by a fairly wide margin on the slate with no Embiid and no Nikola. Oh, there is Embiid, sorry. But in a much tougher matchup and no Nikola Jokic. And Embiid was also, we'll get into that game when we get there, but Embiid was also questionable on Tuesday night. So there's a good chance he could sit on the second half of a back-to-back potentially. Doncic, I think, will be the top raw points guy. But for a point per dollar basis, I almost like Kyrie a little bit better in this one just because Luka is so hard to spend up to. I feel like if I'm playing Luka, I'm maybe running it back with like a Coulibaly or even a Corey Kispert, Denny Avdia, Trey Jones, Jordan Poole at the most, because like I don't think I could pair somebody like Kuzma with him just due to pricing. But Kyrie and Kuzma, I think, would be an interesting little stack. And then I don't think I'd play anybody on Dallas outside of those guys unless we see some people sitting. Like Tim Hardaway could have a good game. Lively could. Jones Jr. could. Grant Williams could. but I think it just feels too thin on this team because of how much runs through Luka and Kyrie, unless somebody ends up sitting, since it is the second half of a back to back. And then for the Wizards, for me, yeah, I agree. It's like Poole, Avdia, and Koulibaly are probably my favorite for their prices, but Kuzma is viable for tournaments as well, 100%. Next game on tap, we got the Milwaukee Bucks and the Toronto Raptors, 225 total in this one, almost 20 points lower than the first game. The Bucks are favored by 3 points. Do you have any interest in Milwaukee? We got Giannis Antetokounmpo is probable for this one. Jay Crowder is out. And then for the Raptors, Anunoby's doubtful, and Trent is and Trent has already been ruled out. I don't know why it says questionable on DraftKings here for me right now, because he already got ruled out. But starting with Milwaukee, I'm all frazzled now. Who do you like for the Bucks?
Yeah, I mean, this is not. I mean, this is a pretty like pace down spot for Milwaukee. I mean, obviously, you can always play Giannis. He can pay off his price tag at any point. I certainly cannot prioritize him though over Luca. So he's definitely a tier below Luca given the matchup. For $1,000 more, I would definitely pay up for Luca. I think Lillard. I really have no interest in Lillard. I think if I'm going to get like kind of fancy in a GPP, it might be Bobby Portis at 5,700. I think he might be kind of like a sneaky GPP play. But like I said, this is not a good spot for Milwaukee. Pace down on the road. I don't know. I'm not seeing a lot to like from Milwaukee.
Pace down on the road, and like everybody's been priced up from the time that Lillard missed, and so I'm out on this whole team. I think on the Toronto side of thing, though, Milwaukee plays pretty quick, and they have not been anywhere close to as good defensively as they had been the past few years. This is a close spread, and the Raptors are expected to be without OG and Gary Trent. I think this is not as great of a spot as it was the other night against Washington, but still a pretty good, potentially low-owned spot here for the Raptors.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Milwaukee's defensive rating this year is sixth worst in the NBA. I know we're kind of early on in the season, but they have not been very good defensively. And so, yeah, I do agree with you that Toronto is not really that bad of a play. I think Scotty Barnes is a good GPP play. We finally saw a game out of Pascal Siakam. He might be able to carry that momentum into this game. Jakob Poeltl, 6,000. We'll see. But yeah, it's this game to me. It's not really screaming like I like a lot of pieces of this game.
Yeah, me neither. It's like maybe I play one of Schroeder, Siakam, Barnes. I don't think I want to play these guys together on this slate. And then like maybe you can take a shot on somebody like Precious Achua, but I think it's probably too thin on a plate like that. Slate like this. Having trouble with my words on this one. Next up, we got the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks. 231 total in this one. The Hawks are favored by 1.5. Another team on the second half of a back-to-back are the Atlanta Hawks in this one, and they have Trae Young questionable. He was out on Tuesday night, while the Knicks have RJ Barrett listed as questionable with a illness. Starting with the New York Knicks, do you have any interest going up against a strong matchup, up pace Atlanta Hawk team?
I would really like it if Barrett sat this game and go back to quickly. I think this would be an amazing spot for him at 5,600. My guess is that Barrett will be back, which kind of dampers things a little bit on the Knicks side. I think this is a pretty solid spot for Julius Randle. The $8,200 price tag for him just seems way too low for the amount of minutes that he plays. So it's I think Randle is my favorite play if Barrett plays, and then if Barrett sits, I think quickly is going to be like a really, really smash play for the Knicks.
Yeah, Quickly and Hart, if we get Barrett out, are going to be my go-to guys. I like Jalen Brunson in this spot quite a bit. And then but Mitchell Robinson, I think, is in a great spot as well against a team that plays a center for basically all 48 minutes. Mitchell Robinson's had a great year and has been playing more minutes lately. So I think he's going to end up being my favorite play here for the Knicks. On the Atlanta side, this is a pace down spot. It's a tough matchup against New York. If Trae Young is in, I think I'm probably going to be Xing out this whole team because they've been priced out. If Young is out, it's a different story. I think they're still interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the Knicks play at like the second slowest pace in the NBA, and they also have the fourth best defensive rating. So this is a really, really bad spot for Atlanta. You're right. If Young plays, then I'm just out on Atlanta. I really have no interest. If he is out, then I would go back to Murray, maybe. But even 9,100 on the second night of back to back against this team, that's not like a must have in my opinion. I probably would go back to Bogdanovich at 5,400. He would be probably the guy that I would prioritize. But yeah, I'm assuming Young will be back, and so I'm pretty much out on Atlanta.
Pretty straightforward slate so far. We are zipping through things. Next game, still at the 6:30 block of games, we have the Philadelphia 76ers and the Boston Celtics. Philly's at home. They're a 1.5 point favorite going up against the Celtics. This could change, however, as Joel Embiid, who was questionable on Tuesday night on the front end of a back-to-back, could end up sitting here on the second end of a back-to-back for Boston. Kristaps Porzingis is currently listed as questionable. Outside of that, they're healthy. And then on the Philadelphia side of things, Kelly Oubre Jr. is still out. And we're going to have to wait and see on Nicholas Batum and Joel Embiid and anybody else potentially on the second half of a back-to-back. For Boston here, this should be a great game to watch, a absolutely fantastic game to watch. But unless Porzingis is out, it's going to be a great defensive battle in this one as well.
These are two pretty slow teams that have great defensive ratings. And if I look at these prices, like for a guy like Maxey at 9,500, like there's no chance I would pay that price against the Celtics. The only player that really kind of gives me a little bit of interest is Jaylen Brown at 7,800. He's a talented enough player that he could easily pay off that price tag and win you a GPP. Like he could easily go for over 50. I think Drew Holiday is a little bit interesting also. But in terms of the Philly players, I really don't have much interest unless Embiid sits.
Yeah, if Embiid sits, all of a sudden Maxey, Harris, Melton, Paul Reed, all these guys are interesting. If he's in, I think Embiid's the only one I would maybe have interest in. And then on the Boston side of things, because their prices are okay, I think I could take a shot on Jaylen Brown, Porzingis, or Holiday. But then if Porzingis doesn't play, I think it opens up Al Horford in this one as well. But either way, it's a tough, slow matchup. I don't think I'd want to play more than one player per team unless maybe Embiid's out. Then I think you could get up to like 2 76ers in this one. I want to shout out the YouTube chat right now. Those watching us live, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. But we got Michael and Derek in chat helping me remember what all the questions from the morning grind game are so that we can play that one at the end. So shout out to Michael, shout out to Derek. I think we got all of those down. Next up, we got Orlando. We got Chicago, 216 total in this one. The Bulls are favored by 2.5 points. For Orlando, they're still without Markelle Fultz and Wendell Carter Jr. And then on the Chicago side of things, Alex Caruso is questionable and Patrick Williams is questionable as well. Another slow-paced game. That's why this first Dallas and Washington game has so much of a bigger total than any of the others. First off, on the Orlando side, do you have any interest?
Yeah, Paulo Banchero at 7,700. I think he has a ceiling. It's not the best. It's not the best matchup, but Chicago is not exactly. I mean, they're a bottom 10 defensive team. So even though they're slow, they're not great defensively. So it's not like we necessarily have to stay away from them. So I think Banchero is in play. I think Suggs is in play if assuming Fultz is out. So Suggs, Banchero. I think I do have a little bit of interest in this game because I really like Nikola Vucevic on the other side of this game, to be honest with you, at 7,800.
These prices have dropped a little bit, and so I don't mind that at
Yeah.
all. Getting Banchero for 500 cheaper than he was, Wagner for about 400 cheaper, Suggs is cheaper. So I'm pretty interested in this whole team as well. And call me crazy, but maybe even somebody a little bit of Goga Batatse or Mo Wagner as well. And on the Chicago side of things, yeah, Vucevic is a nice cheap price with a very weak interior defense right now. Levine is cheap. DeRozan is cheap. I wouldn't want to play more than one of those guys in a lineup, but I think you can get to any of the three of them.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call. I mean, so far this season, Orlando has been very, very strong defensively, but I don't know if that's how they're going to be for the whole season. So I think guys like Vucevic, Levine, DeRozan, I mean, they're all like I wouldn't play more than one of them, but they all definitely have ceilings in this spot. I think.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with you. Next up, we got Minnesota and Phoenix. 230 total in this one. The Suns are favored by 6 points. I'm going to be honest, it's a little bit higher than I expected it to be. Everybody is healthy for Minnesota. On the Suns side of things, Devin Booker is expected to be back. He is probable in this one. Bradley Beal is expected to play. And then Eric Gordon is probable as well. So this would be the first time this season we get to see a full strength Phoenix Suns team. I don't know. I kind of like Minnesota +6 in this one, considering it's the first time for that core together. I think the Suns can still come out victorious, but I don't hate that. Who do you like on the Minnesota side of things? Speaking of players who have been priced down, Edwards is below 9K now. Towns is below 8K.
I was just going to say, look at Towns. Look at
Yeah,
Edwards.
and Rudy Gobert below 7K
Rudy
as well.
Gobert.
So
I mean, that seems more normal for Gobert, but
they priced up Conley and they took away a couple hundred from everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, man, it's just like I wish I liked more things on this slate. This slate is pretty gross. But I mean, I do love that price on Edwards, and I also love that price on Towns. Gobert, I think, is priced where he should be, to be honest with you. Like, to me, he's like a 7K player. So really, I don't think he's that much of a value. But Edwards and Towns, like, definitely. And like the other thing is, like you mentioned, this is the first time we're going to see a full strength, a Phoenix team. So like we don't really know what to expect from them in terms of like team chemistry and like how they're going to actually like match up. So I kind of agree with you that I kind of like the Wolves +6 in this game.
I mean, like the Wolves are 7-2. Like this is and maybe the best defensive team in the league right now.
Right. So it's like you're gonna trot out a team that has not played a game together against the best defensive team in the NBA as 6-point favorites. Like, yeah, technically speaking, the Suns are more talented, but I don't know. Like, I don't have a lot of interest in them for DFS. That's for darn sure. Like, I'm not paying 10-3 for Booker. I'm not paying 71 for Beal. I guess you could pay 9,900 for Durant if you really wanted to, but I don't think I'm going to.
Durant, I agree with you. I think you can, but I'm going to be Xing out this entire team. It's just Minnesota. It's just the Minnesota guys for me. I haven't been playing after like the third game of the season. I just stopped playing people against Minnesota, and it's gone pretty well for me so far. So I'm planning on basically just ignoring the Phoenix side of that game. Next up, we got the Cavaliers and the Trailblazers. The Cavs are 9.5-point favorites in this one, 225 total. On the Cleveland side of things, hold on as I realize I accidentally still had the Phoenix team pulled up. Darius Garland has already been ruled out for this one, and they are without Isaac Okoro as well. And then on the Portland side of things, they're still going to be without Brogdon and Scoot Henderson. Potentially a high-scoring game for the Cleveland side. Maybe Garland being out can keep it relatively close. Do you have any interest on this Cleveland side, who was also been heavily priced down for this game?
Well, I mean, I think Donovan Mitchell's like one of the best plays on the entire slate with no Garland, 9,100 against this Portland team, who's going to be on the second night of a back-to-back. He's way too cheap, in my opinion, for this. Evan Mobley, 7,300. He's in a really great spot. I'm not sure what's going on with Jared Allen. Like they keep saying they're going to increase his minutes, but they don't. So I don't know. Like, I'm kind of like wondering if he's stuck in that, 25, 26 minute, estimation. But at 5,900, if he can get the minutes, this is a really good spot for him. He's dirt cheap, but I'd rather play Mobley. But I think Mitchell and then Karis LeVert, I think 6,400, he'd be interesting play as well.
LeVert's been playing really well lately, and I think he could end up getting a couple extra minutes if this turns to a blowout too. They won't give him the full blowout run, but I think he stays out there a little bit longer than maybe the starters do. On the Portland side of things, Sharp is playing 40 minutes a game. Grant is playing 40 minutes a game. DeAndre Ayton is playing 37, 38 minutes a game. These guys are playing big minutes, but this is a tough matchup against Cleveland. So do you have any interest here in Portland?
The problem is it's going to be a blowout. I don't see this game staying close. Portland on a second night of a back-to-back, going up against a really tough Cleveland team. Like, I'm not seeing the scenario where this game is competitive. Like, I'd almost like want to take shots in large field tournaments on like Matisse Thybulle or like somebody who's going to get like blowout run, because I don't really want to pay 7,800 for Sharp or 7,600 for Grant. I think this is a really, really hard matchup for them, and I don't see this game staying close.
So you're saying we should take shots on Jabari Walker?
Yeah, I mean, like whoever you think is going to be kind of like part of that blowout rotation, I think that they're worth shots in an MME setting. Yep.
Yeah, I think that is completely viable as well. We cruise through this slate, Tim. 8-game slate, and we are already on the last game of the night. The Kings are at the Los Angeles Lakers. Big total in this one. Close spread, 232.5. The Lakers are favored by 2.5. The night before, we have no one other than Trey Lyles and Alex Len out for the Sacramento Kings. But the LA Lakers on the second half of the back-to-back are going to have Anthony Davis and LeBron James likely both listed as questionable. Davis was probable on Tuesday night. James was questionable. Now on the second half of the back-to-back, I think LeBron's probably the one more likely to sit than Anthony Davis. I think Davis is more likely to play on the second half of the back-to-back. But starting off with the Sacramento Kings here first, De'Aaron Fox in his very first game back came in, played no hint of a minutes limit, 36 minutes, looked like his old self. Priced at 8,300, nice and cheap. Who do you have interest here on the Sacramento Kings?
You said exactly what I wanted to bring up, is that Fox came right back, played his normal amount of minutes, and produced at his normal level. Again, this is another game where two teams are in the bottom 10 in pace. So I mean, these again are another like kind of like slower teams. But yeah, De'Aaron Fox would definitely be my favorite Sacramento play. And then I think you're just going to have to play the news game and put, Davis and or James in your utility spot, and maybe one of them sits, right? Do you think, I would imagine one of them sits? I would imagine
0-0 in the Timberwolves and Golden State Warriors game. It just started. And Klay Thompson and Draymond Green already both got ejected.
Really?
And Jaden McDaniels for the Timberwolves. Wow. That's less big of a deal, but no Klay and no Draymond, and we're 1 minute into this game. Please tell me I got a little bit of Gary Payton Jr. and Moses Moody made my.
I was going to say a lot of people during crunch time were talking about Moody.
I had him in my pool, but I don't know if he actually landed on any lineups.
I almost played Klay on FanDuel. Like, he was really, really cheap on FanDuel. I almost played him. I thought he was a really strong play.
I don't see any Payton or any Moody. Shoots. I wanted to get them in initially, but then there were just too many other plays I like better, and I don't think they landed on any. But yeah, we got to play the news game with the Lakers. I'm with you. If everybody plays, I don't actually have all that much interest. But if LeBron's out, I think it opens up Russell, Reeves, Hachimura, Reddish. And then if Davis happens to be out too, then we can fire up Christian Wood in this one. And for the Kings, it's mostly just De'Aaron Fox for me. Everybody else has been priced up for his absence. So Fox and Sabonis, I think, is fine too as a contrarian play. But mostly Fox for me.
And this is not a standalone 10 o'clock Eastern game. You also have that Cleveland-Portland game for protection in terms of late swap. So make sure that you build in some like 2v2s or 3v3s to adjust for this news. That's an important part of this slate.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Now let's play the morning grind game so I can go and look at my lineups that have Covington instead of Gary Payton or Moses Moody and just cry at all of the Flames except for the 6.25 points for Robert Covington when I could have had one of those Warriors guys. But alas, that is life. Favorite player under 5K to 7X. Favorite value play.
Under how much?
Under 5K.
Under 5K. Okay. Koulibaly.
You took my guy. I'm going to stay on the same team, though, and I'm going to go with Corey Kispert. Having said that, I think we're going to get a lot more value opening up as most of these teams are on the second half of back-to-back.
There's going to be so much news.
Yes, I agree with you. Who do you think will be the biggest bust over 8K? Not going to 5X in this one, over 8K.
All right, so I'm going to disagree with you and this might be a little hot, but Kyrie.
Okay, wow. That's in that game? That's the one. That's a spicy take for a bust.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't think he's 5Xing at that high price tag against the Toronto Raptors. Next up, favorite 6X play, any price.
I'm gonna go Donovan Mitchell.
Out of spite, Kyrie Irving is gonna 6X that price tag. And finally, your favorite Let's Get Weird GPP play of the night.
All right. I don't know how weird. And I don't think he's going to be that owned, even though he's in that very, very popular game. I'm going to go Denny Avdia.
All right, Denny Avdia. And finally, I think I am going to go. I don't think De'Aaron Fox is going to be very highly owned in this one. And I could be completely wrong. Trying to project ownership the night before without looking at player projections is incredibly hard. But I don't care. I'm going with De'Aaron Fox anyways. That'll do it for this edition of the Morning Grind. Shout out to our live viewers. Derek Ringering helped me out with the Morning Grind. And he says he's got a Moses Moody team, so he's feeling like he is cooking right now without watching the game. Josh Gillen says that Draymond just choked out Rudy Gobert. That sounds about right. I don't think those two have ever liked each other, but that'll do it for this edition of the Morning Grind. Tomorrow night, I will not be back, but it'll be Grant and it'll be Keith talking about the Thursday night football game, I guess more so probably breaking down the Sunday football games. And then I will be back on Friday for some more Morning Grind as well. So thank you to all the live viewers and to everybody listening on the podcast feed. We will be back tomorrow to talk some football. Peace.